Welcome everybody to the Swanton Village Board of Trustees and the Swanton Town Select Board Annual Joint Meeting and Budget Presentation here at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex, Monday, February 24th, 2025. And we're going to call the meeting to order.
All right. Town's going to call their meeting to order. We're good to go. All right.
And lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And agenda review. Anybody need to add anything to it?
For me?
No.
Me, nothing.
Good. You guys on that? Yep. All right. We're gonna, as gracious host, let our guests go first.
Start. Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ryan Savage. I'm the town administrator, but this is my official role as the town moderator, that I get to read the warning. That's the only thing that the moderator does now, but here goes. Thank you all for coming, by the way. The legal voters of the town of Swanton, who are legal voters in town meeting, are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Swanton Village Municipal Complex, 1st and Elm Streets, in Swanton, on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, at 7 a.m. to vote on the articles herein set forth. All articles are to be voted by the Australian ballot system. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Article 1, to elect from the legal voters of said town the following officers. Moderator, town for 1 year. One selectman, a select person for a 3-year term. One select person for a 2-year term. One lister for a 3-year term. One auditor for a 3-year term. One trustee of public money for a 3-year term. One library trustee for a 5-year term. One cemetery commissioner for a 5-year term. And a collector of delinquent taxes for a 1-year term. Article 2. Shall the town appropriate $1,121,129.71 for the operation and maintenance of the town highway department? Article 3. Shall the town appropriate $316,225 for fire protection? Article 4. Shall the town appropriate $478,117 to provide police protection to the residents of the town of Swanton? Article 5, shall the town appropriate $750,502.10 for town general expense? Article 6, shall the town appropriate $307,776.36 toward the maintenance and employee benefits of the Swanton Public Library? Article 7, shall the town appropriate $80,260 toward the operating budget of the Swanton Public Library? Article 8, shall the town collect its real and personal property taxes to defray the expenses of the town for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2025, and annually thereafter, by its actual receipt of payment. Postmarks will not be accepted at the town offices by 5 p.m. on October 15th, or if the 15th shall fall on a weekend or holiday, the following business day by 5 p.m., with an 8% penalty and 1% interest per month, or a portion thereof, due thereon for the first 3 months, and 1.5% per month for a portion thereof thereafter, to be charged for late payment of any installment. Article 9, shall the town appropriate $259,490 to support the rescue services of the residents of the town of Swanton? Article 10, shall the town appropriate $239,600 to the operating and maintenance budget of the recreation department? The legal voters of the town of Swanton are further notified that an informational meeting will be held at Swanton Village Complex, 121st Street, Swanton, Vermont, on Monday, February 24th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in person and via Teams for the purpose of explaining all budget items to the voters. Anyone desiring to participate and listen in on the meeting, join on your computer, mobile app, or room device with Teams. And then you click to join, and the meeting ID number and passcode are given. Dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 22nd day of January 2025, signed Joel A. Clark, Chair, Stephen J. Bourgeois, Earl D. Fournier, Nicole K. Draper, and Brendan P. Long. It was dated and filed the 22nd of January. Attest Kathy L. Fournier, Town Clerk.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Brian. Now, as the village president and moderator of all village meetings, I get to read the annual warning for the village. The legal voters of the village of Swanton are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Swanton Village Complex, 120 First Street, Swanton, Vermont, on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025. At 7 a.m. to vote on the articles set forth. All articles are to be voted by Australian ballot. The polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Article 1, to elect from the legal voters of said village the following officers: president for a 1-year term, trustee for a 3-year term, clerk for a 1-year term, collector of delinquent taxes for a 1-year term. Article 2, shall the voters of the village of Swanton appropriate $197,139 for the operation and the maintenance of the general fund for 2025. Article 3, shall the voters of the village of Swanton appropriate $763,395 for the operation and the maintenance of the highway department for 2025. Article 4, shall the voters of the village of Swanton appropriate $94,457 for the operation and the maintenance of the fire department for 2025. Article 5, shall the voters of the village of Swanton appropriate $1,005,026 for the operation and maintenance of the police department for 2025. Article 6, shall bonds or notes of other evidences of indebtedness of the village of Swanton in an amount not to exceed $8,300,000, subject to reduction from alternate sources of funding, be issued for the purpose of constructing a new building for the Swanton Village Electric Department. The estimated cost of such improvements being $8,300,000. The legal voters of the village of Swanton are further notified that informational meeting will be held on Monday, February 24th, 2025 at 7 p.m. in person and via Teams for the purpose of explaining all the budget items to the voters. Anyone desiring to participate and listen in on the meeting can do so by going to the village website at swanton.gov. Click on Village Trustees, and find the meeting by date. Open the agenda and click on the meeting link. The warrants dated at Swanton, Vermont, this 27th day of January 2025. David Winchester, President. Susie Kelleher, Trustee. Eugene LeBumbar, Trustee. Adam Paxman, Trustee. And received and filed this 27th day of January 2025 by Diane Day, the village clerk. And that ends the village warrants. Power presentation number 6. Discussion of Town of Swanton's proposed 2025 budget.
We have a few hard copies of this presentation that if you'd like one, Christina will hand it out. It'll be up on the screen here. Probably should stand up.
Yeah, stand by one, Brian. There we go.
There we go, okay. So, it's the annual information meeting of February the 24th, 2025. After the 2024 annual town meeting, the select board consisted of Chair Earl Fournier, Joel Clark, Nicole Draper, Steve Bourgeois, and Cody Hemingway. In August, Mr. Hemingway resigned from the board due to personal reasons. In his short time on the board, he served well, and we wish to thank him for his service. Brendan Long was appointed to fill the seat for the remainder of the term. To stay informed of what's going on in the town, as well as the village. We invite you to view in the joint town and village website at www.swantondt.gov. We also maintain a Facebook page, the Town of Swanton, Vermont. Now, for highlights. First of all, we've got to mention that Edward F. Daniel, longtime, lifelong member of the community who served in a variety of capacities, stepped down after service on our planning commission from 2005 to 2024, many of which he served as the chair. In addition, he had also served as town moderator from 2000 to 2008 and again in 2011. The select board wishes to thank Ed for his years of service and wishes him all the best for the years to come. Throughout the year, work continued on updating the zoning bylaws to be in sync with the town plan that's been occurring throughout the year. The Planning Commission spent many hours in this process. The job is just about complete. There will be a public hearing held by the Planning Commission, and after that hearing, the Select Board will hold its own public hearing, and if all is in order, officially adopt the new regulations. It is expected that the new regulations will be in effect early this spring. The new regulations will be an improvement. Will be easier to, we hope, easier to follow, will allow better flexibility, and there's some significant changes on what can be built. So stay tuned for that. I think everybody will be pleased. The Select Board has worked with Laz Skangus of Arnold and Skangus Architects addressing the icing issue that's plagued the Swanton Library for years, actually ever since the addition was put on. A plan has been designed and will commence in mid-spring that will provide insulation and other improvements to the attic. While the work has taken place, which will be, well, when winter is over, but not quite when late spring has arrived, the library will have to be closed for safety reasons. We're looking for the ideal climate so that we can work comfortably up in the attic for the crews that will be working. The site assessment, the continuing site assessment on the former site of the town garage on 4th Street is continuing. This work is a slow process, but it is required by the state of Vermont. Hopefully the next testing will be completed by April, and barring any further testing requirements from the state, work can commence on developing that site into some recreational uses. It seems like we satisfy one requirement, and then they come out and say, oh, you need to do this and test for this. So that has been the story of that since for the last couple of years. In September, it was discovered at the town offices that the kitchen drain had leaked, causing serious rot in the beams supporting the floor, which was both in the kitchen and extended out to the front of the building where the clerk's office is. We had to relocate the clerk's office into the boardroom temporarily. That was no small feat. We had to build a partition so that the clerk could keep their eyes on the vault as required by state law. All told, we didn't know what to expect. It is a very old building, and you get into an old building, it had to be repaired from the floor down because it's a crawl space underneath there that is not safe to enter into. We expected the worst, but we got out of it for $17,000, which was all covered by insurance except for $1,000 deductible portion. So we did quite well with that. The highway department, the following roads had resurfacing done on them last year: Champlain Street, Church Road, Leduc Drive, Andy Avenue, Woods Hill. And at Woods Hill, we cold planed and overlaid the portion that goes under the overpass of the interstate and the Lord Road. There will be a new culvert installed this year on Brooklyn Street, and the long overdue reconstruction of the Swanton Hill Road will occur this year. Our plan will be for the contractor to do the necessary blasting, and our highway department personnel will do the rest of the work. In 2024, we had solicited bids for the construction of the Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. Unfortunately, no bids were received. The bids went out right after the major summer storms, and all of the contractors were busy doing the emergency repairs all over the state. So thus, they were too busy to bid on this project. This winter, we sent out the bid solicitation once again. There has been an interest, and the bid deadline was February 18th. 5 bids were received, ranging from a low of $458,466.99 to a high of $1,074,741.99. The low bid is in the process of being certified. Target completion date is August 1st of this year. On other highlights, back in April of 2023, we hired a full-time administrative assistant to the town administrator and zoning administrator. Christina Candles, who's with us this evening, has expanded her duties to the point of not only assisting in those areas, but in all areas of the town office operations. She can be counted on to step in just about any place that is needed, and always willing, able to help. So the select board is pleased to announce that effective on December 17th, 2024, Christina was promoted to the assistant town administrator. Congratulations. Swanton's animal control officer remains to be Jim Benson. He can be reached by cell phone at 802-238-3246 or email at swantonaco@gmail. The ACO only deals with dog issues. The ACL does not accept dogs that are no longer owned by their owners. Now, cats and other animals are not handled by the ACO. However, there's been a slight change in that policy. If we get a report of an injured cat or a very seriously ill cat that appears to be abandoned, the ACO will respond and will assess the situation, attempt to locate the owner, take the cat to a vet, and either if the owner steps forward, they can pay for the treatment. If it doesn't, or if in the best interest of the welfare of the animal, it's too badly injured, we'll have the vet euthanize it. We had one case of that. We don't want to see any animal suffer, so the select board did accept that as a policy this past last summer. The town health officer is Susie Kelleher, who's doing duty as a town health officer now. She can be reached at 802-782-7037 or her email at skelleher@swantonvermont.org. The construction of the LVRT trailhead is the Swanton projects for 2025. We continue the construction of the LVRT trailhead, the reconstruction of Swanton Hill Road, the installation of the new culvert on Brooklyn Street, repairs to the attic at the Swanton Public Library for icing problems, annual resurfacing of town highways after a review in the spring, and continuing economic development efforts, especially in the area of the Southern Growth District. In the Southern Growth District, you noticed if you're out that way, the new State Highway District garage and offices. The garage is occupied, the salt shed is occupied. I believe the offices are in the process of being completed, so that's there. The land adjacent to it has also been purchased by the state of Vermont, and that will become a new military readiness center eventually when federal funding comes through. Now, those are state properties or federal properties. There will not be taxes paid on those, but immediately upon completion, I will be making application on behalf of the select board for a payment in lieu of tax payment on those facilities. The budget request summaries. If all articles are approved, the total general budget is $1,580,992.49 to be raised by taxes, $750,502. The total highway budget is $2,164,314.13 to be raised by taxes. It was $1,121,129.71. And the library budget is $307,776.36. The library appropriation is $80,260 to be raised by taxes, $388,036.36. So in the general budget, as I said, if all articles are approved, $1,587,902.49. Be raised by taxes is $750,507. The projected tax rate is 0.1712 cents. That's the projected tax rate. Now, all these rates are projected based upon last year's grand list, the 2024 grand list. The 2025 grand list does not become effective until April 1st. We do not know what that is. And the actual tax rate, the official tax rate, is set later in the summer. Once all the things have been transferred on the assessed values, the appeal periods are over, the select board will meet and set the tax rate, the official tax rate. So it could be slightly different than what you see there. I'd be optimistic and say it may be slightly less if the grand list went up. There's been plenty of building going on in town, so we'll find out. So the general budget, based upon last year's grand list, shows a very slight decrease, 0.0008 cents. So it's still better than an increase. What makes up that general tax? Well, there's the regular general, the operations of the town office, which is $750,502.10. The tax rate equates out to 1.028. The rescue is in that general tax at $229,761. The tax rate there is 0.0356 compared to last year's rate of 0.0314, so it's a slight increase. And the recreation was $239,600. Tax rate being 0.0328, up from 0.0209 of last year. Now on to the highway budget. If all articles are approved, it's $2,164,314.13. To be raised by taxes, it was $1,926,482.88. The projected tax rate is 0.3426. The 2024 tax rate was 0.3652, so there is a rate decrease of 0.0226, so like 2.25 cents. And of course, vote on Tuesday, March 4th, 2025, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You get your absentee ballots. There's still plenty of time to get those. You call Kathy or Tamar at 868-4421. They can get you an absentee ballot. Or stop into the office, and you can even vote if you wanted to when you're in the office early, right? Yeah, okay. So what makes up that highway tax? Well, we have the regular highway, which is obvious, plowing, highway maintenance, the payroll, the highway department guys. That's $1,121,129.71. Tax rate is 0.1994. The police protection, which is 10 hours per day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, is $489,137.19 at 0.0870. And the fire protection is $316,225 for 0.0562. And then the library budget. Now, there are two articles in the library. The payroll and maintenance of the building, as well as the appropriation to the library to offset operating expenses. Total is $388,036.36. The projected tax rate on that is 0.0531. Last year's rate was 0.0388. Tax increase is 0.0143. So, you got all these numbers together. So the tax projections. So keep in mind, we have, because we have the town-village arrangement, we have a town, I call it the town-town rate for people who have their homes in the town outside of the village. And then we have the town-village rate for those of us who live in the village. We get a different tax rate because we are not paying the highway, the rural police protection or the rural fire protection. So the general fund, the tax rate is the same for both, 0.1712. The highway applies only to the town at 0.3426, and the library is the same for both, 0.0531. So in the total for the town is .5569, and then for the village is .2243. So then the next page, we just show what that equates out to for actual tax estimated. If you have an assessed value of $150,000, your house is in the town, you will pay $880. Your tax bill will go for those municipal taxes we've just discussed. If you're in the village, it's $336.45. And then on up through, all the way up to 350,000, or it's 1984.15, and $785.05. Now, if somebody's new to the community and not familiar with town and village, those of us who live in the village get what's called a village tax, and that's where we pay for the police, the fire, and the highway on the village side. So we aren't getting a cheaper deal. Look at it that way. So that's that. And now we're going to talk about what was formerly known as ARPA money. There's been some changes on the federal level. It occurred to Congress that there was no way that many municipalities, especially small towns, are going to be able to spend all that money in the time allotted, that they had to spend it. So there was some action done by Congress that said that if there's a resolution signed by the governing body, and in the case of the town, it's the select board, that we would be able to fund government operations out of the ARPA money. And then what money would be not used in that would then become a surplus, but they would call it special funds. Now, I know that sounds a little confusing, and to be very honest, Kathy, our town treasurer, was in a meeting with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns over the telephone or by Zoom one day, and she comes running in my office, she says, "You've got to come out here and listen to this." And I did, and I'm sitting there, and I just was dumbfounded. So I asked again, is this what this involves? Yes, and I said, well, if we were caught doing that before Congress said it was all right, everybody would go to jail. Yes, but if they say it's all right, that's what we're gonna do. So we don't call them ARPA funds anymore, they're special funds. And we had our auditors check it out, and they were in agreement that is what we have to do. So we received $1,249,506.37. We have expended $231,492.79, leaving $1,018,013.59. But of that amount, we have committed to various projects in the town, and Joel's got a list here. We've committed $854,883.75. We just haven't spent it yet, but it's committed towards certain projects. The rec community center being the largest single one. Plus we've committed things to the library and several other smaller projects. So that leaves us a balance of special funds available to be used of $163,129.83. So that's that in a nutshell, and I expect there'd be questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. Now we do have some elections, of course. Candidates for office this year: town moderator, vote for no more than one-year term. I'm running again. Select person, vote for no more than one 3-year term. Joel Clark, the incumbent. Alan Letourneau. I don't know, Alan's not here, I don't see him. Vote for a select person for no more than one 2-year term. We got Nick Brusso, Brendan Kelly, and the incumbent Brendan Long. Nick Brusso, you're here. Nick, would you just like to say a word?
Sure. I think I know most of this room. I think I'm very qualified to be the next person on the select board for Swanton. I have served on various committees around the town, like the Chamber of Commerce and the Historical Society. I'm a local elected official in terms of like being a trustee of public money and on the Cemetery Commission. And I think I show a big commitment to the community. I think overall, I look forward to getting involved in projects like the Memorial Valley Rail Trail parking expanded rail trailhead, and the new rec center, or the expanded rec center, and also have some ideas of my own that I look forward to trying to implement. So if I could get your vote on March 4th, that'd be great. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. For a lister, vote for no more than one 3-year term, Kevin Nichols. Kevin was appointed by the select board to fill the unexpired term of Jim Pratt when Jim announced his retirement. Kevin is coming up to speed quite well. We have auditor Diane LaRock is running for a 3-year term, running for re-election. Trustee of public money, which I'm a trustee of public money. That's a 3-year term. And then library trustee, we have Kathy Kneebone running for a 5-year term. Now, cemetery commissioner, Macy Lavoie was up. She elected not to run, so that's an open position. Now, if somebody would like to run as a write-in, that is possible to do. I will say it'll take a minimum of 30 votes to get elected under a write-in, which is the same number it takes to get nominated if you do a petition. So you have to get a minimum of 30 votes. So it's just not, if you've got 5 people names there, it's not who gets the most out of what. They gotta have a minimum of 30. And then the collector of delinquent taxes is Betty Cheney, who's present this evening. And let's see, is that, okay. And that's it. So voting again is Tuesday, March 4th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. here. Just like any other year, you come in, if you were in the village, you will go to the village, check in, and vote, get your ballots, vote. And then if you're in the town outside of the village, you will go check in, same thing, but you're in separate checklists. And also, you'll be voting on the school budget as well. So you'll have several ballots. But it moves along quite smoothly. So if there's any questions on anything, certainly the board is here, and we also have representatives, the police chief is here and the fire chief is here if anybody's got any questions. You don't see anybody from Cisco Air Rescue, so, but the floor is open for questions. Don?
Brian, would it be appropriate for me to make an announcement, since you've listed all of the people who are running for office?
Sure.
My term is up on the school board, MSBD. Some of you signed my petition, others I didn't catch you in time. But I am running again. I've served for 20 years, and education in Vermont is at a critical juncture right now, and I think my years of experience will be valuable, but that'll be for the voters. So thank you for letting me announce that I am seeking re-election.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Did you want to say something?
I was wondering if you're gonna ask. No, I don't, I think I know pretty much everybody in this room as far as my running again. The only thing I will say is, in our report, it shows my old home phone number. I only use a cell phone now, and that does show up on the website, but it's 802-393-0550. If you need to get hold of me and you don't remember the number, contact the town office. Please call me if you get any questions about the budgets, anything regarding the roads, anything I can help you with. Be glad to talk with you. So that's all I got to say.
Okay. Neil, you had a question?
Question on the library budget.
Why is it split into two, one on appropriation, one on general budget for the library, instead of combining it? You have an $80,000 appropriation, and the regular budget is 305.
Yeah. It's,
Why are they split?
My understanding, and this happened before I got back on the board, is the payroll and the building maintenance is handled by the select board, and the other is the operating funds for the library, which is handled by their trustees. So that's where the breakdown of the two is, as far as my understanding of it. We take a look at the payroll and the building maintenance piece of it, and the operating piece, the books, and so on. That's handled by the library trustees. Happy, I mean, that's the breakdown of it.
Our budget that we have in there for us covers like all payroll benefits, FICA, health insurance. It's the maintenance, the building maintenance of the property as far as this fire inspection, sprinkler system, any repairs that have to be done are in that budget. And then the other one is just inside, like books and computers and things that we need to maintain.
Furniture,
And then
programming.
Electrical furniture programming, yeah.
There was agreement struck with the library a couple of years ago on how they were how it was gonna be managed. One of the things, I believe the select board found at the time was just the care of the building. So that's why the select board wanted to get involved and do more to take care of that facility and make sure the proper funds were being programmed to do those repairs.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's it for the public comment, right? So, board members, we can adjourn at this time if you want. If someone wants to make a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
second.
Motion's been made to adjourn, and second. Any comment? Hearing none, all in favor state aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you, the town. Now we're gonna bring it back over to the village side of the equation and do a PowerPoint presentation, discuss the village of Swanton's proposed 2025 budget, and I believe that village manager, Bill Keys, will fill you in.
Thank you. Super excited to follow the town with their budget decrease, so thank you for that. Can we cue up our If you do not have a copy of the village, there's a report, there's some out back. We're gonna cover this quickly. We're gonna answer any questions that you have, but next slide's the org chart. That's on the inside front cover. The printers did great this year. So fairly sizable organization, 42 full-time employees, 8 part-time, 24 volunteer firefighters. So most of the department leaders are here tonight. So if you have specific questions in reference to their respective shops, feel free to ask them. I'm going to have them introduce themselves now, starting with Jason.
Hi, I'm Jason Starr, I'm the chief operator of the wastewater plant. Ian Ryan, public works supervisor.
Dan Schnei, hydrant plant supervisor and fire chief.
Todd Jones, chief operator at the water plant.
Tony Kuchar, supervisor of electric department.
Matt Sullivan, Chief of Police.
Thank you. So I'm going to turn it over, next slide. We're just going to walk you through a broad level discussion of the budget. At any point, any shop, you have questions, fire away. Lynn wants a lot of questions. So we'll start with Lynn, and then we'll fan them out from there. So go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lynn Paradis, the Assistant Village Manager and Controller. So first of all, our general fund, which is this building, our parks, the significant impacts that we've had going into 2025 is we did a wage reallocation Dean's department works in general fund when they're taking care of the parks, the highway department when they're taking care of the streets and sidewalks, water and sewer departments when they're taking care of the lines out in the street. So every year we look at where are they spending their time and allocate for a budget purpose their salaries and benefits to each of the departments. What time they actually spend, they use on timesheets, and it's charged to the appropriate department. But in the general fund, a little more of their salaries went into that department this year, and along with the associated benefits. Retirement and health insurance increased this year, and this is across the board for all our departments. We go through Beamers for retirement, so they tell us what the employer and the employee is gonna pay each year. Health insurance, the employees went up another 2% in what they're paying towards their benefit, but overall insurance went up also. The outside services is the downtown scoping study work that we've been doing. We pay Channel 15 to record our meetings, and our accounting fees go up every year for our audit that we have. Maintenance of parks, in that is, we have Christmas decorations, the SEP money, and we're gonna be putting in security cameras around the village, and some of that is hitting some of our parks to secure our assets, and the cost of mowing and maintaining the parks. Building maintenance, which is this building, the cleaning services, HVAC, sprinkler, and fire alarm maintenance and testing, labor for maintaining this building, and then capital projects here for this year is an air compressor, runs the sprinkler, I believe. Yeah, dam. And the hose tower, we're gonna be doing some rehab on that. Next slide. The fire department, which we share costs with the town on, dispatching went up. Our dispatching is through St. Albans Central, down at the St. Albans PD. Property insurance went up. Transportation and fuel maintenance is up, and they increased their equipment replacement fund. And then in the police department, salaries and benefits, we restructured how we are doing the salaries in the police department to stay competitive in the market, so that there's not a lot of people going into law enforcement right now, so we want to be able to keep the ones we've got. And then benefits for their retirement and health insurance costs, and then with office supplies and department supplies, those went up. Ammo is very expensive, so that was part of what drove the increase in department supplies. Dispatching, we had to switch in 2024 to a contract with St. Albans City Central Dispatch. The cost that we got last year was a sweetheart deal, so now we're paying the real cost, so that went up significantly. We also saw a significant increase in property insurance and workman's comp insurance in this department. We've kind of leveled, a couple of years ago, we increased the training budget. Matt's trying to get his people into other training. Instead of doing some of the in-house training, we're getting more specialized. Transportation maintenance, we've got a fleet of about, 8 vehicles now, Matt?
I believe so.
So, trying to keep them all up with, tires and oil changes and just routine maintenance increases. And then we do have an equipment replacement fund in that department also, that we fund.
Before we move off of police, so 42 full-time, happy to say 40 vacancies, there's no vacancies in anywhere except the police department. So 40 fully staffed, we have 2 vacancies in the police. So if you know anybody, my line of sight right now, I got Rich Kelly, I got Damon Broderick. Let's do a conditional offer right now on camera, and we're fully staffed.
No, I got it.
No, we are hiring though, and seriously, call us. Okay. Rich, you're already certified, it won't take much. Academy in the fall, let's make it happen.
So in the highway department, salaries and benefits, Same in reasons with, the other departments, benefits are going up. Property insurance, workman's comp insurance, took a significant increase also. Street and sidewalk maintenance, if you notice, we decreased the amount of out-of-pocket, budget amount in paving this year. We have a large grant. The amount that you're seeing that we're asking from the taxpayers is gonna be what our village share is for that paving project. Same with sidewalk, we've got a large grant, for the sidewalk. I don't know if you wanna expand on those two pieces?
I can if there's questions. So we pared down our budget for both paving and sidewalks to a bare minimum because of the funding we have for Class 2 paving from the state of Vermont, as well as a $75,000 grant for sidewalks. So we're doubling what we normally do at almost zero expense to us, all grant funded.
And the last piece on that is, transportation and maintenance. One of the things that Dean's gonna do is we have a backup plow truck that we're running more regularly this year. And, we're gonna rehab the box on, one of the dump trucks to extend the life of it. So this is the, schedule that shows the tax rate actual for 2024, what we billed, versus the 2025 proposed. The grand list amount that I've used for the proposed tax rate is based on the April 2024 tax rate. So the general fund, the actual for last year was 0.1037. We have proposed a 0.1176. The fire department, last year was 0.0528, and the proposed is 0.0564. Police department for actual was 0.5962, and a proposed of 0.5998. And highway was an actual of 0.4126, and a proposed of 0.556. So in total, we're going from an actual tax rate in 2024 of 1.1653 to a proposed estimated tax rate of 1.2294, which is a 5.5% increase. So these are what your tax bill would be in total, if you have a $200,000, $250,000, or $300,000 house. And you can see the bottom, the annual increase for all in, just your village tax rate would be, if you have a $200,000 house, it'd be $128.20. A $250,000 house is an increase of $160.25, or a $300,000 house is $192.30. And then by department, if you're in the general fund of a $200,000 house, your tax bill, the portion of your tax bill attributed to the general fund is $235.20. Fire department is $112.80. Police is $1,199.60, and highway is $911.20, for the total of $2,458.80. And if it's a $250,000 house, general is $294, fire was $141, police is $1,499.50, highway is $1,139, for a total of $3,073.50. And a $300,000 house for general is $352.80, fire is $169.20, police is $1,799.40, and highway is $1,366.80, for a total of $3,688.20. This slide shows what the Swanton Electric utility bill would be versus our competitors. We're the third cheapest in the state, and most of the utilities that you're seeing on that list, to include the two that are the cheapest in the state, are in for rate cases. So those numbers will adjust as their rate cases get finalized this year. So the ones highlighted besides Swanton, which is Vermont Electric Co-op and Green Mountain Power, are the two power companies that surround Swanton Electric. So you can see, we're about half, almost half of what they are. And we're proud to note that our power is 100% renewable, mostly because of our Ormancroft generating facility. Our FERC license expired in April of 2024, and efforts to renew the license are ongoing. You want me to keep going, or you want to move that part?
You're on a roll.
All right.
Don't worry, they know I'm gonna talk.
So water and wastewater are two of the enterprise funds that we have. The water project for the Missisquoi River crossing was completed in 2024. We started the wastewater treatment facility upgrade in 2024, and it will be ending December of 2025 or early January 2026. And I did a rate increase evaluation that rolled in these two upgrades. The next rate increase will likely occur in calendar 2026.
Now I can take over.
All right.
So in terms of accomplishments, instead of reading you 5 pages of literally narrative, starting on page 4 of the village report are the trustees and village manager update. You got a detailed police department report, you got a detailed fire department report. So those are included, and again, if you need an extra copy, they're out back. 4 uncontested races. We have no contested races this year at all. Does anyone want to say any words that's in the room running in an uncontested race? I think
Onward and forward.
I think that's a no. Next slide, please.
Bill,
Yes,
can I say something?
of course.
Sure.
I didn't see you behind Damon. That's my bad.
That was ducking. I'd just like to say a few things. Most everybody knows me, I think, no spear. And I'd like to thank Eugene for his years of service on the board. And next week, I'd be honored to take his place as trustee. We got some new members on the board who have proven themselves in the last year, and I look forward to working together with them and improve our community. So, thank you.
Same with
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. We're going to talk a lot about this in Swanton Electric after. I hope everyone is willing to stick around. We have a full presentation, our 4th and final public presentation on the proposed bond. But in a nutshell, here's what you need to know. Right now, the big 3 power companies are 98% of the power rates, right? Your Green Mountain Power, your Vermont Electric Co-op, and Washington Electric. They comprise 98% of the ratepayers. We right now live in the literally 1/2 of 1 percentile lowest rate in the state of Vermont. With the bond and the impact, we will still live in that same percentile. So we're looking for your support on that, but again, we have an entire presentation and PowerPoint around that. Doesn't take long to include a tour, so we're hoping you avail yourselves to that if you have the time. So again, if best case scenario is we break ground over there sometime next year on land that we purchased at 124 First Street, and it takes about 12 months to complete. So, questions at this point?
Comment. So I just want to, let folks know that I want to, as the board, we'd like to thank Lynn and everybody and Bill for the work that they did on the budget this year. When we first started, we started at a 20% increase, and we all looked at each other and said, well, we're going to keep going. So round 2 came up at the end of November, and it got down to 12.5. And we all looked at each other and said, okay, let's keep going. So we tweaked it, we did everything we could, and we've got it down to a manageable increase based on the conditions that we're living in at this point. So, but I just want to, personally thank you on behalf of the board for the work that you folks did. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
And Lynn talked about it, right? Across the board, 4% increase, but there was a significant impact in the additional 2% requirement for employees to contribute toward their health insurance. It literally cut, in some cases, it cut their raise in more than 50%. So. Questions? Do we have anybody online that has questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Stand by, everybody, please. Next slide.
Mr. Dean?
What are you doing?
Ain't easy for me either.
Keep it up.
Yes.
Keep going.
I want to thank you on behalf of the community, the board, past and present, for all your service to this community. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot from you.
Good.
Um,
Some of it was good.
A lot more good than bad, you know, personally for me, I just, you know, I couldn't have come on at a better time, and I've learned a lot, and the one thing I will always remember that you've said, let the voters decide.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what we should do.
Yes, so we have just a little,
Oh, well, that's something I can put on my, our family
there you go.
couch.
There you go.
Oh, look at this.
The Swanton Village Board of Trustees, management employees would like to recognize and thank Eugene Lombard for his 25 years of service to the Village of Swanton as village trustee. Thank you, Gene. We appreciate your many years of service to the Village of Swanton. Village trustee 1986 to 97 and 2010 to 2024.
Very good. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Gene, I just want to say it's been a pleasure, and thank you for taking me under your wing last year.
It's okay.
While we're in the moment, the four of you, quick photo, please. Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
And very same, Dean. It's been great living next to you all these decades. But serving next to you for the 1 year has been fantastic.
It's been really good.
Gene, the floor is yours if you want it.
I do for a minute. As I leave, I know that we have one hell of a good staff here. Thank you to the leadership from the past and the present. And I really want to thank the employees because they're doing their job, and they're doing a damn good job. And I think, you know, the new people could echo that because they came in, took a look at it, and we're still here. And I appreciate everything that I've had over the years. My first 10 years from 80, I forget. 1986, I got appointed to fill an unexpired term, someone that had resigned. And that was a busy time for me because I was working full-time as a chemist, and we were building an increase in the electric department. I was very fortunate to see the fourth generator built up from the rock at the bottom. And I was there to see it and to assist. And that has really been of great value to the ratepayers here. And then, of course, all the other things that went along with everything else. You know, the police department was 1 or 2 members back then. And, you know, that certainly has been an increase. I'm not sure it's for a good reason. It is for a good reason. But it's kind of a shame to really say that it's necessary. And that's a comment about our society today, I'm afraid. So with that, I leave the department and the village running very well. Thank you all.
Thank you for your leadership.
Thanks, man.
You got it.
Yeah, you too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
Don't worry, I'll be around.
We know where to find you, Gene.
Well, that's true. Please, if you Evening. One of the guys can walk over to the house. And thank you for helping with the snow.
Oh,
I think it was you.
it was.
I look out and I can see snow flying.
It's a lot of snow.
It's on here, we use it.
We're used to it, yeah.
So we gotta adjourn that section.
No, this is,
So we already did public comment.
Mr. President, we're good moving on?
I think so. If there's not any more public comment for the village side of the equation, we're moving on
Okay.
to number 10, public hearing for the electric facility bond vote on March 4th, 2025.
On our contract, you wanna make the adjustment, just come on up, hang over here, hang up over here. Dwayne, you wanna do the same, please? Don't worry, we will let you leave if you try to leave.
I am gonna step out.
Okay.
My 10-year anniversary.
Okay. Happy anniversary.
Bye, Nicole.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all this.
Darren is still out. Oh. Darren, you can come up here too, you know. You're gonna wanna stay along the He's back.
I see that.
We just,
He's so talkative, that guy right there.
which one?
Darren.
Oh,
Hey, Bill, do you want these seats here? No. I can gladly,
no,
no?
you're
Okay.
good. Any luck? I can kick it off without that up there to start with, so.
Well, I'm trying to find it.
Okay. Lynn, you might need to help put it on a thumb drive. Did you, because we used yours last time, right?
Yeah. So if you could just email it to me, I probably have it. I did email it.
While we're looking for the PowerPoint, I can kick it off. So, before we talk about how we got to here today, let's talk about what happened a year ago. I think everybody recalls we asked for a $14.2 million bond based on taxes for a new public safety facility. Back in July or early 2023, the village trustees, using ARPA funds, purchased 124 First Street next door for $400,000 using ARPA funds. To recap that purchase, it was at under market value, less than the previous owner paid, and it came with $75,000 in Tier 1 and Tier 2 environmental studies. We had 34 public hearings. Many people told me that was about 32 too many. And I was told this time we're gonna have 4 and only 4 public information sessions on this building. The trustees thought it was important to try to get that, to manage many issues with a complex. Primarily, we're out of space. We heard loud and clear in this room before the vote, why don't you consider moving the electric department next door and having a much more broad-based impact? So, instead of on 1,600 voters, residents, and 14.2, that was onerous, as evidenced by the fact that it went down 70% to 30%. So we listened to that feedback, because what didn't go away is our space problems. We still are cramped beyond belief. We have an aging electric department. By the way, it was always going to be, if public safety moved next door, fire and police, we were going to completely and wholly renovate the electric department, and that would have been a cost also. So now the route is much more clear and concise. Build a new facility over there based on a number of factors and studies that we'll get into, and spread that amongst 3,800 ratepayers by utilizing the 30-year bond. So we currently serve 3,800 customers, primarily in Swanton Village, Swanton Town, the town of Highgate, and a very small sliver of commercial customers in St. Albans. So that's our base. It is growing incrementally, not considerably, but every time we have a new residence, especially in the Southern Growth District, those are our customers. Next slide, please. So if you have time after, please join us for a tour. Also, there are poster boards. For some of you in the back, it's gonna be hard to see. There's poster boards out back there and here that depict all of this. But this is a bird's eye view. It'll still be, when you come in on Elm Street, that's the one in between, the small street, that will still be ingress only into the electric department. You're not gonna be able to do any egress. And then the parking area is right there in the front. That's the front entrance. Next slide, please. So the project team. A lot of the stuff looks very familiar. We learned a lot from the proposal for the public safety facility. We learned a lot through the DRB, permitting, what we could do for setbacks. We know, based on the restrictions of the property, long and narrow, that we had to meet certain setbacks. So we utilized Weeman Lampier, who couldn't be here tonight. They were here for all of the other public meetings. We utilized them because a lot of stuff remained the same. All the civil engineering that was done didn't have to be recreated. All the fact that we enrolled in the State of Vermont Umbrella Program, that's the program where you enroll with the State of Vermont. They indemnify you for all things that are in the ground, and once you get a clean bill of health, you're good, even if they find something 5 years down the road. So we've been involved in mitigation of the brownfields next door for a long time now, since we purchased the land. So we're in really good shape there. So very comfortable with Weeman Lampier. We had an internal team to include the village president, David Winchester, trustee Susie Kelleher, many of our folks and subject matter experts, teaming with Weeman Lampier, and then the process evolved to a request for proposals. Multiple construction management firms applied for that honor. The team, to include then the full board, met and unanimously chose Connor Contracting. So a local contractor, they'll talk more about themselves. It's been an absolute pleasure working with them. It's an eye toward making sure that everything we're doing is fiscally sound. We'll meet the 50-year needs of this organization and our citizens, but fiscally sound. And that was critically important to us. So that's the team. There's the project site. Again, we purchased it $400,000 ARPA, and it's now a contiguous property. That site, right now, even today, is in the town. We are told that we've submitted on behalf of the trustees a bill that is now on the wall, but soon to be off the wall in House Government Operations, where our charter, in concert with the General Assembly, can annex the land. So we are in the process of annexing that land over to the village. So I am told they will meet the crossover date, and that should be that should happen this year. So we're in process for that. Next slide, please. So this again is very similar in layout, but such a different building for such a different purpose than what we proposed last year at a significantly reduced rate. Plenty of parking. Some of the problem areas on this site, honestly, were the same ones that existed before. Stormwater treatment, so the blue that you see on the top, that's the stormwater retention. I won't bother walking up and pointing stuff out on the slide, but everything we need there, again, being fiscally prudent, will meet the needs of everything we're doing for the next 50 years. Next slide, please. So now I will walk up here. You can get to the point where the first two rooms are highlighted, please. Yep. Okay. So that's the entry. So over there from that parking lot you saw on screen, you got a single entry. So we thought it was really important, similar to this room, to create a critical need area for Dwayne's team to do training. They're required to do a tremendous amount of training monthly, and this space will meet those needs. But just as importantly, we're going to open this up, and hopefully it will never be abused to the public. So we'll have a process where somebody wants to utilize the room here, especially the one on the left, the training room. So when you walk in on the left, you're going to access a secure lobby, by the way. I think many of you know I did 30 years in the state police. I cannot stand the lack of security and how open this is. It's, for today's standards, doesn't meet the criteria. So there's at least going to be a little safety and security in this one. You're going to be able to enter, But we'll set up secure access for somebody who comes in, signs up for an event from the public, wants to utilize the space. No problem. We'll hold you accountable. We'll know what time you enter, what time you exit based on your card access. And you can utilize the training room for, at this point, what we're thinking, and if I say it, it's gotta be true, right? The trustees will go with it, $0. It's just something to give back to the community. It's a good community room to utilize. The trustees no longer have a smaller meeting room for Board of Trustee meetings. This will utilize this space here, as well as we do all kinds of conferences all the time. Dwayne's trying to manage his day-to-day right now with all the things that we have going on, automated metering and things like that, in an office that is just not conducive to that kind of environment. So that's kind of what's happening as you walk in. Next slide, please. Next one. Okay, I'm gonna now turn it over to talk about the office, but before I do, so what's gonna happen is, as you walk in this normal entrance, and you walk by the customer service professionals that are on your right-hand side, everybody in that wing, with the exception of police, and the electric department on this side of the wall, that we can talk about in the tour if you've never seen it, are all going to move over there, including my office, including Heidi Rich-Valenta, our grant specialist office. Everybody's gonna move over there. We're gonna talk about the beneficial impact of that for the rest of the organization and how it's gonna meet their needs, but they're gonna move over. So Lynn, can you walk us through what it's gonna look like for your staff?
Sure. So right now, like you'll come in and this will be your customer service area, where Diane and Liz, who is also a customer service rep, and Lori, who does the billing, will be. Currently, out there, we also have the meter reader and Trish, our staff accountant, who handles not only accounts payable, but payroll, HR. So she deals with sensitive information. If an employee has a question about their paycheck, a question regarding workman's comp or some of their benefits, she doesn't have an office space right now that she can have a private conversation with them, nor does she have a space in this building where she can have a private conversation without asking Bill or I to leave our office, because we don't have a boardroom for the trustees. This room, Heidi's over in the corner. So what this will give us is an office for not only Bill and myself, but Trish will have her own office, and Heidi, who is over in the corner, will have an office. And then there's a small space right there that was labeled an office that will be for if a customer comes in and wants to have a conversation about their bill, or they want to set up a repayment plan, or one of the ladies in the front office is taking a class. They can go in there, so it's kind of like a small private conference area that down the road, because we're looking out 50 years, could be another office down the road. In this area, there's a printing and supply, office supplies will go there, all of our printers, the photocopier, which is currently in the hallway, and then the mailing machine and the envelope stuffer. And then our IT room and a bathroom is in that area.
And hopefully you'll join us for the tour. So that mailing room and IT right now is not up to code. It shares a space. Remember, 3,800 electric bills a month, about 1,500 wastewater bills, and about 1,550 water bills a month go out of that one small space. Would you like to introduce yourself again to the crew?
Yeah, Wayne Kuchar, Supervisor, Electric Department. So ours is pretty self-explanatory too, the offices that we've got. We got the supervisor and the lead that are usually in one office. We've got our meter tech and our engineer that'll be in another office. And the linemen will have their office for doing their paperwork, as well as the hydroelectric. Supervisor will have a spot here as well. Next. This one depicts all the rest of the rooms that we've got. We've got our break and lunch room, which will allow for all of us to be able to be in the lunchroom at the same time and have our break. We've got our general storage. We've got fire rated storage. We've got our bathroom, showers, locker rooms, as well as our electrical room and our mechanical and sprinkler room. This is a...
can we just go back? Because they don't complain about it, but I hope again you do the tour. So right now, where that team eats their lunch are on old wire spools in the middle of the garage, because there's no room anywhere else. And it does not matter who's coming in and out with those trucks blowing exhaust. Public Works will get there, it blows right on them. It is not healthy. It is not okay in any way. I hope you look at that. I hope you appreciate that. Again, they don't complain about it, but I will for them. It's just, it's unacceptable standards. Their lunch with, may as well be sucking on a muffler. Sorry, go ahead.
So in our garage, we were looking at making sure that we had space to put all the equipment, some of the equipment that we have stored outside right now will be all inside and not susceptible to the weather, to the corrosion that we got just in our environment now. So hopefully our equipment will last longer, the stuff that we do have outside currently. This should, from everything that we can think of, cover us for the next 50 years as far as storage space for everything that we've got, as well as our inventory here. Does not mean our transformers will be outside, they'll still be outside. We don't have room for everything inside. But our wire spools, which continually are rotting outside, we have to re-spool them. We should have all the room that we need in this building for that.
So just to get a few overhead shots of the building, next slide please. And that's the front entrance. Again, I don't think we've gotten real granular on the final decision on the color, but the materials is pretty well set. Next slide please. That's from Elm Street looking over at the building. You'll notice, if you can go back 1 second, you notice on the garage bays, there's only ingress one way, right? They're gonna have to back in, back out, one or the other, back in and then drive out. To save cost, it was, first of all, we didn't want a lot of traffic going on the Robin Hood, just didn't make sense. There's only one egress there, and that's for the delivery of larger things like utility poles and things like that. Next slide. This, I'm told, is all that Connor Contracting needs to build a building. I just came up with that. It's the first time I thought of it. Sometimes on the fly.
I have a rebuttal already.
No, you wait your turn. Okay, next slide. So this is the cost estimate that was developed by the team, but primarily William Lampier and Connor Contracting. This is not the final cost. This is the amount that gets us to the point where the trustees could authorize this amount to bring the bond vote to the voters. So it's $8,323,701. Already some good news, so you can't really see it from there, but from subtotal hard cost, second one down says property remediation. So worst case scenario, our engineering estimate was $356,000 to remediate and get a clean bill of health from the state of Vermont for that property. We already know now that 100% of anything related to petroleum cleanup and 80% of anything related to brownfields is going to be reimbursed by Northwest Regional Planning Commission. It's a $300,000 and change relief. We might need that relief, folks, right? There's some uncertain times. We got some discussion about tariffs, Canadian steel. One half of this building is wood, one half is steel. The Connor Contracting team will talk about that. So I will turn it over to Mike and Sean Connor.
Thank you. I'm Mike Connor. Sean Connor's to my left here. I'm one of the owners of Connor Contracting. Our company just celebrated its 35th anniversary. We have an office in St. Albans and one in Berlin. So we're thrilled to be involved as a local contractor to assist the village and the town with this exciting project. We've been hired as a construction manager, which is a little different role than a general contractor. In the end, we perform the same function. We coordinate and manage the construction from start to finish. But as a construction manager, you're hired earlier during the design process to offer constructability insight and offer your opinion if we think there's a better way to skin the cat or a more efficient way to do things. We work cooperatively as a team, along with the design team, to develop the project. So we're working with the civil engineer, the structural engineer, the architect is the lead consultant, and there's a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing consultants as well. So there's about 6 professionals we're working with to design the project. We happen to have completed 3 similar projects in the last 4 years, one from St. Albans Town, one in Georgia, and one in Milton. We toured Georgia and Milton with this group, and we took a few thoughts and ideas from a couple of different projects, which are going to show up in this design. So this first estimate is a conceptual estimate based on project history that we have and our best guesstimate on the current climate in the last 3 to 5 years based on recent pricing that we've experienced. It's not a complete estimate of the job yet because the job's not fully designed yet. So job 1 is to do the conceptual estimate to get it in front of the voters. We'll do a design development when the design is 75% complete or so. And then we'll do a post-bid estimate after the job has been fully designed and competitively bid by local subcontractors. So it's a several month effort, 4 to 6 months of our time helping the team out and working together to come up with a design that works for everybody. To talk a little bit about the project, maybe it'd be best to go to a different slide.
We can back up, please.
One of the buildings.
Yep. Let me know when.
That toolbox, by the way, those are not my tools. We have much better tools than that.
I think for the record, we all hope so.
For the record, that was not my slide.
Which one do you want? Which slide do you want?
One that shows the whole project.
How about right there? No?
One
The overhead shot.
the overhead shot's better.
Way at the beginning? Yeah.
Diane loves that toolbox.
There
we go.
Those
That's
two
good.
are
That's good.
fine too. On the north end of the building where the main entrance is a 8,600 square foot wood framed structure that will house the village electric department offices and the meeting room, the training room, and all their support staff areas. That building will have a single line of steel down the center to support the spans of the roof trusses, and the perimeter exterior walls and roof system will be constructed from wood conventional framing, conventional wood trusses and exterior 2x8 exterior walls. The eastern portion is going to be brick, and Sean, maybe you can help me with the western side. It's kind of an orange color. What's the top there?
It's a single skin metal panel. So the building's been designed to meet today's energy codes, and included in that is wall insulation in the 2x framing. Then you've got an air barrier that makes the building really tight and energy efficient. And then in Vermont now they want what they call an outsolation plane. So instead of your house that has just insulation in the studs and then plywood on the outside and then your siding, this has got 3 or 4 inches of additional insulation outside of that sheeting that's then behind the metal siding. And they do that so that there's not thermal bridging of cold air from outside touching the wood framing of the wall, allowing cold air to transfer inside. We've done this on several projects in the last few years with different ways to do it. Sometimes you might see the green zip-bar sheathing when you're driving down the road. That's one version of it that's got the sheathing outside the insulation. In this version, the sheathing goes on first, then the insulation goes on the outside. But it's a very tight building envelope. We'll be required to do a blower door test, and we really pride ourselves on passing those blower door tests with flying colors. We've never come even close to failing what the requirements are. So it's a testament to quality control along the way. And I did want to just say that this estimate to go to the voters wasn't just based on what we think in-house the project cost. Understanding this was going out to the public, we reached out to local roofing contractors to get current pricing on what the membrane roof that's on this building costs. We estimated the job and took it off like we were going to physically build the exterior walls with the details that we had, and we got current lumber pricing from Sticks and Stuff locally in St. Albans. We got pricing on the roof trusses. We got pricing from a local structural steel vendor for the steel, for the columns, the bar joists, the roof deck, same with the concrete, and help with the current site work pricing. What's it cost for a stick of drainage pipe? What's it cost for a yard of structural fill or the topsoil? So there was a lot of current input that went into this number, and we're confident that the goal is, when we're hired as a CM, we're protecting the owner's budget and basically treating your money as bond voters as if it were our own money. And in the 3 projects my father mentioned, every single one of those finished within 1% of the approved budget. And the only reason they were that close is because the owners decided to add some things in coming down the stretch. So we've been hired with everybody's best interest in mind, and we look forward to bringing home another project that the village can be proud of.
To touch base on the construction of the garage building, it's a custom structural building with a shed roof, single slope roof that pitches to the back, which is unlike the office building, which is a sloped, internally drained roof. Again, the square footage difference is roughly 8,600 square feet in the office component and 96 and 87, I think. 9,600 square feet in the garage, roughly. The garage will have an R41 roof, I believe, and 4-inch insulated metal panels for the exterior shell of the garage. The project will have a air-to-water heat pump system with an outside mounted chiller that will allow great control within the office component, and it will serve many, probably a dozen or so heat pumps that will allow for temperature control, different temperature control in different zones, and in some cases, if someone wants heating in one area and cooling in another, it'll have that capability. So it's much better zoning and control than a traditional HVAC ducted system. So there are some expensive components to the project, and that's one of them. The garage will be heated through a radiant system under the floor, and that'll add great comfort for anybody that needs to work in the shop in the garage area. It's once you heat that mass of concrete up, it's easy to hold the heat, and you don't notice the big swings that you would with an overhead door opening and closing, letting a truck out, and then having to start a Modine heater to reheat the space. The slab holds that mass of heat and does a great job of keeping the space comfortable.
What about floor drainage?
There'll be trench drains in the garage directed to an oil and grit separator that will separate any potential oil spills, if there was one, from before it hits the sanitary sewer line and goes to the sewer treatment plant. That's required by code.
Because I know the trucks come in, especially in the winter, with snow and ice all over them.
Can we flip to the site plan? Yeah, back up to the site plan, please. Keep going. Keep going, right there. As Bill had mentioned, on the south end of the building is a secure storage area, just with a chain link fence to secure bulky items that are not going to be stored inside the building. The eastern side is where the stormwater, where the stormwater treatment area is. The building is served by natural gas that goes along Robin Hood Lane, and sewer line is going to be in the pink parking area in front of the garage. There's an existing manhole we're going to be tying into there. There's a small parking lot on the north end where the main entrance is, as well as a parking lot along the west side for the office component. And as Bill had mentioned earlier, there's an ingress only at the north parking area. and limited travel through the secure storage area. So, which will provide for better control of people coming and going. One thing we noticed when we did the tour is how congested the existing electric department is. There's 1.5 vehicles share every overhead door location, approximately. So in order to get a vehicle out, you've got to quite often move one to get another one out. And my first comment was that you must keep an overhead door vendor on speed dial, because you must hit your doors often. And so, you know, this will be a much better layout, more spacious. When I say spacious, there'll be enough elbow room where two people could walk by each other between vehicles, as opposed to turning sideways to get by the mirrors like you do need to do now. There'll be a vehicle exhaust component and controls to detect and evacuate carbon monoxide and nitrous dioxide from diesel engines. That'll happen automatically. The exhaust fans will trip if the sensor detects a certain level of contaminant. The exhaust fans will start and make up air from louvers in the building sidewalls, with modulating dampers will open to replace that stale air with fresh air. So, as I said, this is our 4th one we've worked on in as many years, and we have learned a few things, and we're happy to work with the team to assist the community in building this beautiful building. So happy to take any questions if anybody has any.
We're actually building these bump tires in the DPW garage this year as well.
Nice.
So, number 4 and number 5, so a good match.
Couple of other code things that are required. EV chargers are required now by the building code, and your roof must be solar ready. Solar doesn't work for us. We have incredibly low rates, but it must be ready to go for solar. Any questions? Any questions on the line? Anybody on the line? Yes?
One question I have is, compared to the last proposed project, how does this, can you give me some reminders about how this differs from it in terms of like,
Yeah.
one thing that stood out to me last year was the lack of holding cells that the police department has, so how would this maybe create room for the police department and stuff
So
like
can
that?
you go all the way to the, we're gonna go to the bond impact slide, Nick, then right after that is the additional benefits for each department. So,
So wait, just 1 second, just
yes.
before you go. So Uncle Al, you were talking about them bringing in the trucks and washing them in the bay. And we're still gonna do that over there. We had talked about doing a wash bay. But when we got with Connor and we went and looked in Georgia and Milton, we decided that it was unnecessary. It was an unnecessary expense to put on the ratepayers, because as it is right now, we're washing the trucks inside, and so we just said we were gonna go with that. So that's one place where we cut some cost, or decided not to go with
The floor draining
cost.
system's a lot better in this.
As long as you don't end up with like we had out here, with the silt going in there and then blocking the lines up.
Exactly, we won't have that with this.
separator should work, and we always have the backer.
The trench drains will have a sump catch basin placed along them where the end of the drain is before it goes out of the building, which will allow a vac truck to drive right in and vacuum silt out of it to keep it clean.
What do you think of that, for sure?
Very good, yeah.
We do.
So let's talk fiscal impact. So the first one to get out of the way is the proposed increase is 14.3%. That sounds scary. And we never want to minimize the fiscal impact on our ratepayers, but here's what it truly means. We want to present you with worst case scenario. So this is the impact of the building if it truly costs 8.3, and we don't set rates. We go through a process working with Vermont Public Power Supply Authority, the Public Utility Commissions. Here's our rate case, and they determine what rates would be increased. By the way, we're talking about these rates would be increased. The earliest would be 2026. So worst case scenario, 8.3 at today's rates, bond bank 4.37, 30 years, again 14.3. So what does that truly mean to us? You heard us talk about earlier, we're the lowest 1/2 percentile of all rates in the state of Vermont. Next slide, please. So we believe, on average, our customers generally use, residential, we'll stick with this top two boxes, between 600 and 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. So if that is your monthly average, if you use 600 kilowatt hours per month, it's gonna be an increase to you of 37 cents a day. If you use 1,000 kilowatt hours on average per month, it's gonna be an increase of 60 cents a day. You see your annual increase above that, $136 or $219. If you have a specific question as to what you use on average, whether you're a home or a business, you can come in and we can say, based on your last couple of years, here's what your anticipated increase is gonna be. So we think it is manageable in order to take care of the needs of our citizens, again, our ratepayers for the next 50 years. Again, that's building only. Questions on the rates? Okay, next slide. So again, right now, if you took it, it's really hard to see, we're in third place on 1,000 kilowatt home. You're gonna find that most of our muni partners, muni power partners, are listed over there. Already, Ludlow, who's the lowest in Orleans, are doing double-digit rate increases right now. Most power organizations, utilities, whether they're municipal or not, are doing significant annual requests to the PUC for rate increases. We have not had a rate increase since 2016. That's largely attributable to the Ormancroft hydro generating plant that produces on average annually between 70 and 80% of all the load for our 3,800 customers. So we don't have to go out, we don't have to purchase power on the market very often. It keeps our rates low. So we are about to be nearly in first place. Despite this increase, this marginal increase, we are still going to be, in all likelihood, in the lowest three. And I think within a couple of years, we have a shot at still being, despite this rate increase, being the lowest power rate in the state of Vermont. But still, in the lowest 1/2 of 1%, which is significant. Next slide, please. So Nick, here's where we get to the benefits, right? So if everybody in this wing, when you come down and the police department's on your left, everybody moves out. To include this space may or may not become available. And our electrical engineer and the electric department. So a few things happen for Chief Sullivan right away. He gains all that space. My office is now his office. When we walk down the hallway, we have the secure safe right now for our records. That immediately meets all of his law enforcement standards, true current standards for a temporary evidence room to secure drugs and weapons right away. We don't have that right now. It's workable. I wouldn't say it's ideal. So many of the conditions that his team lives in right now are less than ideal. I think everybody recognizes that. They're literally in a couple of offices the size of a closet for 9 full-time equivalents and they're part-time. So they'll get that. They'll additionally be able to spread out at no cost, maybe a coat of paint, into other offices to have maybe a secure interview room. When we're right behind this wall, Dwayne's office is going to be vacant. That's an ideal. The first bay will belong to the police department. They can pull in, more secure now. Right now, if you got a combatant prisoner, good luck, because they're coming out the same way and you're coming through the door. Not good, not modern policing protocol by any means. So you pull into a secure part of the building where Dwayne's office is. We'll show you in the tour. That now becomes a secure processing room. Your data master can be in there. You can have interview rooms. In other words, for little to no additional cost, he can now start to thrive in an environment that team deserves. Additionally, if we're not going to see it tonight, if you look out back where our sand and salt is stored, on the far side of that, you're going to see a garage door. That currently is part of the electric departments that goes into their sub. If you look at the far end of the building over there, the far end of the sub, there's a gate. We're going to put another gate and cordon off that area, so that will be a secure evidence or long-term storage area for the police department. Sometimes now, folks, we secure a car, we do a search warrant, it sits in that public parking lot. Doesn't meet modern policing standards. Doesn't even come close. So now we'll have a spot where immediately for very little cost, worn by the electric department, because they gotta secure their sub. One chain link fence, that solves that storage problem. So those are just a few of the things that they're gonna pick up. Next slide, please. And then you got, is Dean still here? Dean Ryan and his team, they picked up, when we go through the tour, everything, right? The way this building was designed, you probably wouldn't do it again, but you got the loading documents. Half of which right now is Public Works, half of which is Swanton Electric. The electric department's departing, Dean's team gains all of that. Dean's team gains a little bit of space, 1.5 bays approximately, to spread out and utilize his equipment. It's not good. They show up for a storm right now, if the wrong plow driver shows up, too bad, because you're now gonna take the time to move that piece of equipment out of the way to get your truck out, and then back that piece of equipment back in the weather, and then go on your route. We want one piece of apparatus, one door, no matter where we are. So this will help us get there. They will also gain that last garage door I was talking about out there that electric has now. We'll cordon off that area. It'll be outdoor, unheated storage, but still critically important space for Public Works. We think this alleviates everything we're trying to do. It's a tired building. It's 50 years old. I'm not saying it doesn't need maintenance. It does. But it meets the space needs of what we're trying to accomplish. Again, at a much less of an impact on our taxpayers. In this case, our ratepayers. Next slide, please. And tonight's the last public information session. Next slide, final one. Any questions before we go on a tour? Nick?
You talked about worst case scenario, what does best case scenario look like? How do you get there?
We're gonna lie, a better scenario than 8.3?
Yeah.
We hope the timing, we hope tariffs disappear and go away, and we hope that we are able to reduce that budget based upon the work of current contracting with a lot of unknowns. But we're hopeful that, cushion that I talked about, the brownfield mitigation is $300,000. We hope that kind of good news keeps happening and the costs are further mitigated and we reduce them as much as possible.
Big grants are a possibility.
Some minor grants. Generally, you're not gonna get a lot of grant love for municipal public power, but you'll get some free heat pumps, you'll get things like that. There's always some relief, but not a gigantic amount.
Right now, we also have a 10% construction contingency in the estimate, and the village has 5% of their own contingency in there, so there's really a 15% unknown swing, if you call it that, until you guys can get voter approval, and then release the design team, get further along. There's a good chance that when this job gets fully designed and gets put out to bid, you're going to get more competitive numbers than what we feel right now with the information that we have is a conservative number, to bring that in less. So
I think, Nick, we always want to avoid saying, we think 7.5, and then it's 8.3. Nothing pisses the voters off, citizens off more than that, right? So we want to truly present worst case scenario and hope it gets better.
Answer your question, Nick?
Yeah.
Healthy contingency on it. They have to set it there at this early stage of this. And we're hoping we can just keep ratcheting down as we go through the process if the voters approve to go forward.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
My name is Chris Leach. I'm a 55-year resident of the village. And I want to congratulate Eugene again. What a great guy and what a lot of service. Engineers stick together. We complain about a lot of things. We complain about taxes. We complain about the weather. And of late, we complain about how often our mail comes. But we never have complained about the power being out. The lights don't go off here. In Green Mountain Power and in the co-op, you hear in the news, the power's probably out somewhere tonight because of the wind. Our power doesn't go off. That doesn't happen by chance. These guys did a hell of a job over the last, 25 years We just don't have power outages, nobody talks about it. That's something that will continue if we continue to support the electric department. For literally pennies a day, we help the electric department, huge benefits for the rest of the village, for all the other departments in this building. It looks like a win-win to me. As my grandfather used to tell all of our grandkids, you don't step over $1 to pick up a nickel. There's real savings here, long term. Please, think about what you got here. Swanton is very unique. You know how many other places in all of New England, probably the whole East Coast, where you have the capability to generate most of the electricity you need, transmit it, and distribute it to your users at half the cost of everybody else around you? Holy smokes, that is an absolute jewel. So let's celebrate these blessings. And also may God bless Swanton and all of us that live here. Thank you.
Thank you,
Amen.
Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Other questions or comments? Anybody online, Diane? Okay.
I'd like
I
to add
think,
something, Bill, if you want. I'll just add to
Yeah.
Chris's.
I work for all of you.
All right. I know there's been some confusion about last year's proposal compared to this year's proposal. And other than the location, everything else about this is different. From the size, the scale, the cost, and how it's being funded. And as Chris mentioned, it's a unique thing that we have a publicly owned utility like this that has done such a fantastic job of growing over the years and delivering us such affordable power. As some of you see, it's almost 100% less than what the other utilities are selling their power for. For this new proposal reorganization and structure this is the only solution that we can put forth, is to allow something that we own, this utility, to reinvest upon itself and continue to grow. And as it continues to grow, you've got the expansion up at the airport, you've got Southern Growth Districts, you've got, they're gonna be charging electric planes at the airport soon. There's just a lot of customer base, and as that customer base grows, that continues to allow us to keep the rates lower. And like repurposing and rebuilding the hydroelectric plant all those years ago, we allow them to reinvest, it continues. The super beneficial part is we gain an extra 12 or 14,000 square feet of existing extra space in the facility that we already own. All our other enterprises and departments get to benefit from that, and that's a huge savings. So if you 8.3 gave ourselves a credit of $5 to $6 million of building something new, you're down to 2.3 to 3.3, right? In theory, but at the same time, this is the only thing, because it's a nonprofit, that can self-fund itself. Any other solution that we put forward would be a government expense, and that would have to be funded through property taxes and property taxes only. And that is this really different change that's from last year's proposal to this year's proposal. And it doesn't cost shift anything between the town and the village. There's none of that kerfuffle or whatever that happened from last year's proposal. And it's actually a savings for both sides. We have extra room for the police department, which is funded by both sides. If Bill's proposal one day of doing a unified or regional police department, we don't have to build a multi-million-dollar police department first or building first. We now have the extra space. These ideas come on in the future. We get contracts from local towns or next to us. That's a win-win scenario. That'll help us keep our police rates down again, and we'll start to head in the right direction. So one investment leads to another investment, and as those investments keep going, there are savings involved, and it's a good economic theory and solution to keep us property taxes low, electric rates low. It's kind of the best win-win that we could possibly put together based on all those. And as I've said and met with so many people over the last 2 months, if anybody still is confused why this is different than last year's difference, please call me. I'm happy to meet with you. I'm happy to talk with you, as I've been doing for months now. I want to thank everybody that's worked so hard on this, especially Connor Contracting. We can't express enough their work, their input, visiting their latest public works projects in Milton and in Georgia. So much of that has been redone and carried on into the new design with Wayman Lanphier. And just incredible spaces that, and for their cost or what they deliver per square foot, it's just amazing. I think what was last year, we were at $700 a square feet roughly, and now we're down to 300 roughly a square foot for the little bit smaller building, but still very more cost effective. Instead of rattling on for too much longer, I really hope that people, if anybody is confused that this is just another building or another way for us to get another building or something like that, it really is different than last year's proposal. And we hope that you guys support it in the village. We appreciate the support from the town too. We think that it's a win-win for both. Thank you very much.
Last call for comments. Anybody else? Mr. President, if you close a meeting, we can do a tour.
Okay, we're gonna adjourn the meeting. Do we have a
So moved.
first and a second?
Oh, I take that back, I take that back,
Yes, correct.
I take that back.
Let's let Eugene close this.
I second.
Okay, we have a first and a second to close this meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone, and please stay for the tour.